May gewonnen everyone, and welcome back to the third Changelog installment. I am Melvelen Urkalen, and I am here to show you some of the new changes to version 2.0 from version 1.2. First of all, I should stress that this version of the game is not the newest one. It is a little bit more than a month old at this point. And there are changes from this build to the one that is currently being worked on, and those are going to be covered in later changelog videos, which are going to be much shorter, much more on to the point, and just showcase a few different changes at a time. But I wanted these first three basic ones to be done, and then we have a good solid framework to work off of. So what's going to be included in this video? Well, I am going to prattle off quite a few different bug fixes so that you will know what's been fixed and what won't crash your game anymore, stuff like that, and tweaks to buildings and such. Furthermore, I will also pinpoint a few changes that has happened to Misty Mountains, a few script changes. I will not cover the Bree script. You should know that there is a choice for Bree. However, I did not manage to trigger it even though I played for 75 turns, so I can't showcase that. I am going to leave that into the capable hands of Arahir Galudirithan, the mod leader, and you can look from him what Bree does and does not do, because he's going to do a playthrough of those. I'm neither going to touch upon Rune or Harad, because the Rune and Harad in this version are completely off the ball. They're not even kind of close to the real deal, so I'm not going to touch them here because they have had such major changes, and there's no point in just showing the intermediary. And that's one case where I know they've had big changes, so I'm not going to show you that. There's no point in that. I'm also going to showcase or prattle off quite a few different mechanic changes, building changes, specifically what can and cannot be built, and what kind of units can be recruited now that could not before, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the bullet points for this episode, and I do hope you will enjoy it. So bear with me, and I'm going to jump into the game. And we are in the game. Now, first off, I should point out that this video is going to be quite changed as opposed to the earlier ones, because this one is basically just going to be me prattling on, and I can do that wherever. So I'm not going to just jump between all the different factions just to showcase one or two different things. So unfortunately, you're going to just have to listen to me a little bit more carefully, maybe, so that you catch everything, because I can't showcase every single thing, because that would take me all day, and quite frankly that's a little bit more effort than I'm willing to put in. But we're going to start with bug fixes. And what's actually happened? Well, first of all, you are no longer going to crash the game, or the game is no longer going to crash due to the Imladris riders. They've been fixed. What? Okay. That took a bit longer than I expected, but nevertheless. Okay, so the Imladris Raiders won't crash your game anymore. The Enedwathian Isamach Riders horses have been fixed. They are no longer Silver Surfers. Earthed Longbowmen have now got the correct battle model. They have had the wrong one before that. Map banners, who are on the strategic map, have been fixed so that they look better, I presume, and potentially only been positioned better on top of the different settlements. We've also fixed, or they've also fixed, the freeze that happens once you capture Mordor's last settlement as Isengard, specifically when you claim the One Ring, because you can't destroy Mordor without having the ring and throw it into Mount Doom. But if you claim it as Isengard, you obviously don't want to destroy it, so therefore there was a freeze there, but it's been fixed. Generals will no longer be bugged once you claim the ring as Isengard. I don't know exactly what that means, but that sounds like a good thing. There's also apparently been a bug, probably in the script, and someone's just written it down wrong, but there will no longer be a 10th Nazgul for Isengard. It wasn't a very common thing, but that's been fixed. Non-respawning Nazgul for Isengard in rare instances have also been fixed, so that you will get your Isengardians back if you happen to lose them. Your Nazgulians back if you happen to lose them. They die. You can now select any faction in multiplayer. That's courtesy of Markar, apparently. The two broken bridges between Zagkala and Eastern Moria, that would be this bridge there, and presumably there's a bridge somewhere else here then. Well, those two bridges have been fixed and no longer bugged out. It is possible that they removed a bridge as well, and that's why it says two bridges, but those have been fixed. No more crashes there. There's a lot of stability fixes. For instance, I can tell you that when I was running through 75 turns as Bree, I managed to get roughly 40-45 turns in before it finally crashed. So that's the benchmark there. I think that's quite a good achievement. It's nothing to scoff at anyways. Then we have the game used to crash sometimes once you were trying to destroy the ring, mostly due to the animation playing from Mount Doom. However, that has been fixed and should no longer crash your game. History Guild and Dance Guild now give population growth bonuses first only when upgraded to level 3, and a Dance Guild is an Elven thing, and I think History Guild is either an Anurian thing or a Elven thing. I'm not 100% on that, but that would be my guess. And you get their population growth bonuses once they reach level 3. Elven guilds only grant their bonuses to elves now, which makes sense, I believe, because why would the elves want to share their culture with other people or secrets like that? Secret dancing techniques, I mean. Lazy traits, which are granted to governors when they have low tax rates and other things, especially when there's an inn, I believe, appear a lot less. It's a really bad modifier, I've heard. I've never really meddled with the modifiers for generals, but lazy sounds bad and is probably bad. I've heard quite a few outrages to that, so that's been reduced the frequency of that. Okay, and now we're going to have a look at Misty Mountain really quickly. Those were all the bug fixes. I hope you caught them all. If you didn't, I apologize, but you can always rewind. But I will not be showcasing all the different units I pointed out. That's not going to happen. Okay, so there have been tweaks to Misty Mountains. These are marked as preliminary, so they could potentially be changed before release. But at the moment, with the 1 month old build, this is what I've got. First of all the goblins and heavy goblin units for Misty Mountains have had their amount of units increased, so they have the largest units in the entire game. They've been increased by 5 in the files, and that means that the unit sizes for Misty Mountains are the absolute largest in the entire game. So that's nice. Gives them a little bit of a unique thing there. Consequently, all the attacks and defenses of most goblins and heavy goblins, not all, but most goblins and heavy goblin units have been reduced very slightly, it is noted. So it's not going to be detrimental to them, but since they get a little bit more units, they need to be a little bit less effective. So that makes sense. The morale for goblin and heavy goblins have also been reduced by 1, so they're going to run away a little bit easier again. I mean, that's understandable. They're goblins, they don't really care. Also, all the goblins and heavy goblins now have the untrained rank discipline. This means that all of their ranks look messy. As you may have noticed, especially when you have Orc Looters, for instance, and then compare it to the Sauron's Will or something. Sauron's Will, why didn't I say it like that? And you can see that the ranks are completely strict and proper with the Sauron's Will, and with the Orc Looters, they're messy and they run around everywhere. I hope that the Orc Looters have a messy thing. That makes sense if they do, because I think they do. So all the goblins and heavy goblins for Misty Mountains have been given that trait. Which, I mean, that's That's understandable. They've also been given poor morale response, so they're going to be bad at responding to shock things, i.e. someone charging into them, I believe is what that stands for. Also, Gundabad Guard and Black Uruks are no longer granted the Inspire Nearby Troops bonus. So the Gundabad Guard and Black Uruks are no longer going to grant a bonus to morale to their units around them. Which, alright, fair enough. Mountain Oak Hunters no longer have the chant ability, so you no longer get to chant with your Mountain Oak Hunters, but on the other hand, they've introduced this new unit which is going to chant and do that. So yeah, I'm going to take a quick break here so I can jump smoothly into scripts. Be with you in a moment. Alright, so we're going to talk about scripts now for a moment. First of all, there is an anti-rush Mordor script added. And what this basically means is that predominantly if you play as Gondor and you like the idea of being able to rush Mordor and just take out Minas Morgul, Cirith Ungol and so on and then push into the Heartlands, is a good tactic. It works well. However, it might not be entirely lore accurate, whatever. It's not a very lore accurate game. But, I mean, it maybe takes a little bit of the sting out of the Gondor campaign. I don't know. I never really play as Gondor, but it's understandable that it's maybe a way to quote unquote cheat the game, whatever you want to call it. So there's an anti-rush script. What does this do? Well, it basically does that if you capture too many of Mordor's towns within, like, I think the first 20 turns or something, then they're going to get a army spawn, and it should be a full banner army, and it should have quite a few elite units in it, if I remember correctly. So it's just a disincentive for you as Gondor predominantly to move in to Mordor and just capture it like that. Potentially also if you play as Khan and want to attack them in the rear, that's like that. Now that's just a little bit of a disincentive, and you should be aware of that. And you can still rush Mordor, it's just going to be a bit harder because you're going to have to fight a full banner army with relatively elite units if you choose to do so. Also, in an attempt to make it a little bit harder, because the player is always better than the AI, all of the neighboring factions, for instance, we can take, well, take Bree here. If you play as Bree, for instance, and you play as Bree, and then the AI of the neighboring factions, i.e. Dunedain, I believe, maybe Angmar, maybe Enedwaith, maybe Eredluin, or definitely Eredluin and Linden, and maybe Dunlan. But basically, those surrounding you. Those factions are going to get a slight money boost. So basically, it's an attempt to give the AI a little bit more of an edge in the battles to come, because you're probably going to be quite easily beating them anyways, because the player is almost always better than the AI. So it's a little bit of an attempt to give you a little bit more of a difficulty there. There was a problem with the Balrog, if I remember correctly, in that even if you found Gandalf and brought him back, you still had to fight the Balrog. And that was a scripting problem, but that has since been fixed, so you no longer need to fight the Balrog should you manage to get Gandalf in time. Mordor has also been changed, as I mentioned in the bug fix. It no longer freezes when you capture their final settlement, and that is because they've been changed in the way that you can now destroy them simply by taking all of the regions and ending the turn. So there's no longer the requirement of destroying the ring. And there are a multitude of factors for this. One of them is that the volcano explosion crashed the game, destroying the ring, freezes the game, and all sorts of nonsense. And if you're going for total world domination and want to see your color all over the world, it's not going to be easy if you can't destroy Mordor now, is it? So that's why you get the ability to destroy them. Alright, and then we finally have some auto expansion changes. I believe these changes have changed since, but at this moment, because I don't have the other ones on hand, the changes are that the Misty Mountain, no, not the Misty Mountains, the Woodland Realms no longer get Berm Alj, which they did at one point, and Dale no longer gets Burmalinga here. Though they never used to do that. Oh wait, the AI might have actually gotten that. Yeah, that's true. But they no longer get that, and the Woodland Realms do not get Bur Alj. And I can even show you a turn when we see who gets what in the auto expansion, if you are so inclined. Do ignore what canned Harad and Rune are doing, because they are not representative of the final 2.0. I will just stress that, because Rune should not or might not get exactly what you see there, and Harad might not get exactly what you see there. So bear that in mind. But yeah, that's what you get. That's an interesting expansion there. They really are stretching themselves thin, those shadows, but whatever. And then they go here with the dwarves, so they are more included in the rune fight there. But we covered all of that already, so I'm not going to prattle on about that. All right, give me 1 second and we will be back with some recruitment. And we're now going to look at recruitment. Again, I apologize, but I'm not going to jump between all the different factions, because that would mean me jumping away from the Misty Mountains to Dunedain, to Imladris, then to Isengard, and so on, just to show you a single buildings that been changed or something. So I'm not going to do that, unfortunately, because it's going to take way too long time, and it's not really going to be that big a payoff anyways. So also this makes it much easier to listen to as a podcast if you prefer to have the window minimized or whatever. Okay, so Northern Dunedain have had this following change. The Cardolan Sentinels and Cardolan Archers, which you get from these regions, I believe, that should be Cardolan. Potentially this one, I'm not 100%, one of those two. But the Sentinels and Archers have a maximum recruitment pool of 2 that is increased from 1. So you'll be able to train 2 of them at once if you save up on them or maybe not have the money. Imladris have had the following change. Their Dunedain outpost, which they can build, have lost the Dunedain cavalry, but have instead gained Dunedain scouts. So the Dunedain outpost in Imladris have lost Dunedain cavalry, but gain Dunedain scouts. For Dol Amroth, you in order to build the Knights of the Silver Swan, you now need to build the level 3 stables. I believe that is up from level 2 stables. On the other hand, you are now able to immediately build or train the Knights of the Silver Swan, so you don't need to wait that predetermined amount of time before the first unit is available. So that's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really. It doesn't maybe change so much depending on the recruitment time. It might give you that little bit of an extra boost a little bit quicker if you need it. Linden Long Spears have been changed, and Tulkas Faithful. These units, when you are going to train them, you've built the barracks and whatever, and you're going to build them, you are no longer able to immediately build them. You're going to have to wait before you can build the first unit. So Linden Long Spears and Tulkas Faithful, they now are no longer available immediately upon the barracks completion. Then we have Isengard. So for Isengard, their Half-Orc Spearguard and Baneguard have received an increased max recruitment pool. They now get to have 2 in their max recruitment pool in their level 2 barracks, and this used to just be 1. So if you need to save up on that or just waiting for more money, then you're now going to be able to have 2 of those waiting for you. Orcs of the Misty Mountains. They have lost the ability to train the Rudau units from these steps or hills down here. They can still hire a few as mercenaries, but they cannot train them from the buildings. And only Angmar can train Rudau units. That means that neither Dunedain, neither Misty Mountains, neither anyone around Rudau except for Angmar are capable of actually training and coercing maybe the Rudaurians to join them in the fight. Because no one wants to, the evil men, or whatever you want to call them, they don't want to fight for the good side. or the orcs apparently. Not the Misty Mountain orcs anyways. Alright, so that are basically the recruitment changes. Then we have a few garrison changes as well. I'm going to put these in here as well. First of all, the Eastern Moria garrison here, that would be Casa Doom, have had the garrison reduced. They now only get 2 garrison units. That is for orcs and dwarves, so only 2 units are granted to you as garrison if you're attacked at Casa Doom. On the other hand, Minas Morgul have had a change. Where is it? There it is. So Minas Morgul now gains twice the garrison that they used to do in version 1.2. I can't tell you how many units that is because, as I said, I never play as Gondor or Mordor, but they get twice as many defenders as they do in version 1.2. And defenders of Bur Alj, that would be here. Brown Boat being there, and Thalathang, which I believe is around here as well. Never actually think I've seen Thalathang. Yeah, I don't know where Thalathang is. Could it be around here? Yeah, there it is. The Dwarven first city there, the new city of Thalathang. Those 3 cities, Bur Alj, Brown Boat and Thalathang, now receive the strong privateer mercs as a garrison. So that's an interesting twist there. So they get privateers to defend those positions, which is interesting because privateers are usually what I think of when I hear boats or pirates or that sort of thing. But okay, privateer mercs, why not? That sounds good. It's a little bit of a twist there in those 3 settlements, so why not? It's cool. I approve of it. Okay, so give me a minute and I'm going to be back with some building changes. All right, welcome to the building part of the video. In this one, we are going to start looking at Erech here. It has had the interesting change. It's received a pre-built practice range, so you don't need to build that if you capture Erech. So that's a nice nice addition. Gives you a little bit of a boost there if you're interested. In Bree, you can now build a 4th and 5th tier of the culture building, which means that you get a little bit bigger culture boost basically in these cities, so that's nice. The lodge building line, which I believe is for wild men only, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's true. They have received names, and building the lodge gives you a big boost towards getting the Dwarven Masons Guild. So in other words, they've given them a little bit more personalization, and if you are really interested in getting a Dwarven Masons Guild, you should build that. That line actually makes me think that they might be for dwarves, so as I said, don't take my words for the lodge being for the wildmen. That's just me making an assumption, an informed assumption. But anyways, orcs can now get the 1st tier of ports. As you may recall, I showed you with Mordor how the ports look like. They look really ramshackle, but they do get them. But they only get the 1st level. They can't build more than that. The Smiths Guild, that would be for Austin Ethel here, if I'm not mistaken. That's the one that Imladris gets here in Eregion, sorry. And it is indestructible, and as a result, it is no longer a guild. But in order to build it, you need to have the highest level smith, barracks, and town hall built in Austin Ethel. So you need to build the highest level smith, barracks and town hall here in Austin Ethel, and then you can construct the Smiths Guild, and that one is indestructible. And it's a really, really nice thing to have because it's a really powerful Smiths building. And it also gives a little bit of a flair to Imladris there if you're interested. Alright, and after that we're going to have a look at some of the mechanical changes. There are a few of these as well, so you might be interested to know what goes on under the hood. First off, bribery has been removed. And even though it claims, well, it doesn't even claim bribery has been removed properly from the game, there is no chance whatsoever that you're going to lose a army building, not building, but city or whatever to a bribery. That's not going to happen. However, it was not possible to remove the bribery attempt from the trade screen. And what this basically means is that you're going to have AI diplomats come to your settlements and look like they're bribing you because no trade window is going to pop up. And they're not going to succeed, but they're going to try it anyways. And you're going to have to sit there and watch it bow and do all the things because you can't speed that up either. So bribery is removed from the game. It's not removed from the diplomacy screen, but there's a 0% chance of it actually working. So even if you see a diplomat bowing and attempting to bribe, do remember that there's no chance of it actually succeeding on it. But that's an important distinction there. Furthermore, stakes have been reduced substantially. You have far, far, far less access to stakes. And in fact, if you look in the units overview at the end, that would be the previous changelog video. At the end there, the last minutes, I go through all the different factions and showcase which units actually do have the stakes. Interesting to note is that none of the elves had stakes, so you're going to have to take that into consideration, for instance, but go there and look at that if you're interested in knowing and haven't seen it yet. Furthermore, army devastation is slightly increased, which should mean that if you're an enemy or if you have enemy armies standing in your territory, as you may recall or know, there is this black marks appearing underneath and a little bit around the army. That's devastation, and that causes you to lose money for that region because you can't trade properly, and so you're afraid of walking up around or too close to the invading army. And that is now going to be slightly more effective, so you're going to lose even more money due to that. Hobbit village resources now grant you more money, so you're going to be making even more money from these hobbit holes here. The hobbit farmsteads, I believe, is what they are referring to. So they are now worth a little bit more. Yay! Pirates have been removed. I did not know there were pirates, but I presume they mean rebel ships who appear from time to time. I can't really think of what else it would be, but they've been removed. As you may also know and have experienced, is that armies leave you from time to time because they're like, oh no, my leader doesn't have the command enough to keep me in the army and I'm going to desert. So once you get further into the game, that can be really annoying because you lose strong units. And that is no longer going to happen once you get further on in the game. And I believe that is due to a hidden bonus granted to the faction leader, which means that your armies are basically never going to surrender or desert and stay with you longer. Lorien has been changed in the way that it is no longer an invasion target, i.e. Sauron can't call upon it to be attacked. Which is nice because that means that you not always, as Lorien, need to prepare for that inevitable invasion around whatever turn it comes. I think that the Casa Doom was added instead. And that means that if the dwarves quickly enough to capture Casa Doom, they may always be the first invasion target. But if you play as Misty Mountains, when you capture Casa Doom or just capture Casa Doom really quickly, then it's anyone's guess which city is actually going to be called upon as an invasion target. So that's a change. Yes, dwarves are now a valid location. So that means that Moria is likely going to be it if you don't play as the Misty Mountains and capture it immediately, or any other faction and just are like, yeah, I need that mithril mine, I need that money. For instance, being the elves and capture it because you missed the attention that the invasion called upon you, and therefore you wouldn't like to take it from dwarves. Okay, so that's that. And then finally, I'm going to quickly skim over some new unit placements. For instance, you have a new Dalian general, which is going to start just north of Bur Alj. That would be here somewhere. And they are going to have a retinue of privateer mercs. Now, I did not see it here, so it's quite possible that's been changed since, and this changelog's not been updated, but that's a possibility, so don't be scared if you see that. The rebels have been removed from Isle of Nubur. You saw that in the campaign overview. Bane's bodyguard. Bane, that's a daily in general. He has a different bodyguard, and he now has barding marksman instead. I believe he might be the leader, maybe, but he's received barding marksman instead. Umbar has received a expanded family tree, quite heavily it is stated here, and that should mean that Umbar is much less likely to die of regicide, whereas both the faction heir and faction leader are in the same army. No, wait, that's happened to family tree members anyway, so no, scratch that, but you're much harder to take out Umbar just by killing all the generals. Alright, and then finally, if you care about ancillaries, Athal of Rovanion is now given to Bayarn instead of Halloward, and I believe those may be Anduin generals, and now Bjarn will have the Athal of Rovanion instead of Halloward having it. And there we have it actually. That was all the changes. As you will note, this video is much shorter than the other ones. I hope I'm not been keeping track, so I hope I'm not saying anything stupid. And I appreciate that it was just me prattling off a bunch of numbers, but I hope they were clear enough to understand about that I did not speak too quickly, and you can always go back and re-listen to your specific bits if you did not catch everything. But I do appreciate that you watched this video again, and I do hope you took something from it, that you are really psyched for version 2.0, and also remember now that all three base changelog videos have been done, I will be able to bring you much more up-to-date, maybe, big maybe, more frequently updated changelog videos who are basically 20 minutes long. So you have something to look forward to. And yes, that's that. Please leave any comments, critique, or feedback in the description below, and I will read it, take it to heart, maybe answer it if you have any questions. I will try to clarify. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the future, either on my Let's Plays or in the future changelog videos. So take care and have a brilliant day.